Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash entitled parents. In today's episode, entitled Mom Tries to Get Lifeguard Fired. Entitled Mother, The Story of Karma. EM ruins a wall in a house I'm working on and tries to blame it on me. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled Mom Tries to Get Lifeguard Fired. This story happened over 2 years ago, and it's still mind-boggling. When I was in high school, I worked a summer job as a lifeguard. Over the years, I've dealt with some pretty good entitled parents who thought that the rules didn't apply to them and their children, and that they could bully me because I was a teenager. This story in particular didn't happen to me, but I was present for it. Also, some information: I was assistant manager of the lifeguards at the time. I was in charge of the lifeguards that day because my manager was out of town. Now onto the story. It's the middle of a Thursday afternoon. I'm not on stand at the moment. At this point, I'm just walking around and cleaning things around the pool when I walk by the diving area. So for some context, our pool lets patrons swim in the deep end only if no one is going off the diving board. If someone steps up, then the swimmers in the deep end have to clear out. A group of kids is playing a game of tag in the deep end when a patron steps up to the diving board. Everyone immediately exits the deep end except for one 15-year-old girl. She was on the opposite side of the deep end from the diving board and decided to swim all the way across, going right in front of the diving board. When she surfaces, the lifeguard reminds her of the rule and asks her not to do it again. As the girl walks over to her friends, she flips off the lifeguard and tells her to leave the F***ck alone. At this point, I was about to step in until the lifeguard calmly told her that if she continued to behave in this way, then she wouldn't be allowed in the pool for the rest of the day. After seeing this, I very quickly realized that the lifeguard was more than capable of handling herself in this situation. A few hours later, the lifeguard is back at the deep end stand and the same girl swims right in front of the diving board while someone is going off it. The lifeguard again tells her not to swim in front of the diving board when it's being used. At this point, the girl says to her friends, right in front of the lifeguard, "This B***tch won't leave me alone." At this point, the lifeguard tells her to get out of the pool, and that she's done for the day. The girl gets out of the pool and runs to her mom and is bawling. She's going on about how the lifeguard is targeting her. At this point, EM steps in. She demands to see the manager. The lifeguard points me out to EM. EM walks up to me and asks if I'm the manager. I tell her that I'm the assistant manager, but right now I'm the acting manager because our manager is on vacation. EM goes on about how her daughter is being singled out by the lifeguard. I tell her that this isn't true since I watched the whole thing go down. I tell her that her daughter was warned to stop behaving in this manner, but she continued. She demanded that I have the lifeguard apologize for bullying her daughter. I tell her that I'm not going to make an employee apologize for doing their job. At this point, EM is furious. She demands to see the owner of the pool. I go and find the owner in his office and explain the situation. He comes outside and EM demands that he fire the lifeguard. Owner waits for her to finish and then asks if she wants him to check the security cameras. She happily agrees. At this point, EM has a smug look on her face, and the daughter is white as a ghost as she knows she's about to be exposed. Owner asks me what time the incidents took place. I tell him first one was around 1:40 and the second one was around 3:45. He finds both interactions and shows EM that her daughter was clearly lying. At this point, EM isn't backing down. She demands that he fire the lifeguard for making her daughter cry. She says that if the lifeguard isn't gone by Monday, she's going to cancel her membership to the pool. Owner says that he's not going to fire her, and he reminds her that she has already paid her membership for the summer, and that it's non-refundable. EM then storms off. Monday comes around and that same lifeguard was working an 8-hour shift that day. EM stayed at the pool all day just to see if the owner would fire her. Spoiler alert, he didn't fire her. After Monday, EM and her daughter still came to the pool for the rest of the summer. The next summer, that lifeguard was the head manager of the lifeguards at the pool. Apparently, EM and her daughter still belonged to the pool. Entitled Mother, The Story of Karma. A friend of mine told me this story because they don't have Reddit, but still wanted me to share this long but crazy story about her sister who is currently still dealing with sister-in-law problems. Let's name her Ella for safety. I will be writing this in her point of view. Backstory: my name is Ella and I am currently 28 years old. And 7 years ago, I married my wonderful husband Jake, but there's a catch. My sister-in-law has been trying to take the spotlight ever since I first became his friend. My husband and I have been childhood friends, and we both talked about anything that was on our minds. And as long as I can remember, my husband's sister, I'll call her Heather, always wanted all the attention on her. Once Jake and I were in middle school, Heather had just graduated high school, and had their parents throw an extravagant graduation party just for her. Heather and all her friends trashed the entire house, but her parents brushed it off as kids will be kids. Yes, they actually said that. And had a maid clean the entire house. Basically, Heather got away with a lot of petty stuff and her parents always enabled it cause they're rich. Well, not crazy rich, but they were wealthy enough to have a big house and 3 luxury cars. Anyway, when we were in high school, Jake and I started dating and eventually got into a serious relationship. His parents loved me and showered me and Jake with affection and gifts, but Heather immediately got jealous of our spotlight and desperately wanted to take it, so she came up with a plan to make herself pregnant with a stranger she met on social media. About a month later, she announced her pregnancy in the middle of Jake's graduation party. Everyone congratulated her, but Steve and Susan, Jake and Heather's parents, gave her a disappointed look because she stole the spotlight from Jake. I gave her a slight frown as well, but congratulated her anyway cause I still wanted to get on her good side, but she burst into tears anyway, because she knew Susan was going to have a chat with her after the party about how Jake is her brother, and how she shouldn't take his spotlight cause it's his day. After her first hellspawn was born, boy, things just got worse with Heather. She eventually got married to a man named Brad. Brad was an okay guy, but he always enabled her actions as well. On their wedding day, Heather made a 45-minute speech about the wedding and how they met and stuff. But now to the juicy stuff. The day Jake and I got married, Heather gave me dirty looks the entire time while treating the waiters like slaves and making a complete ass of herself the whole time. I tried holding back my laughter when Susan told her to either stop being an hole to her own brother's wedding guests and waitstaff, or she can leave. Which she did. She left and flipped over the table with a few extra wedding presents on it before she left with Brad and her 3 kids. But we all carried on after everything was fixed. When it came to my first pregnancy announcement, everyone was ecstatic, but Heather pulled me aside and told me she wished I lost the baby, and that it's my fault her parents hate her now. I immediately started sobbing, which caused a lot of suspicion. Jake asked her what she said about me and blatantly lied to his face. I told him later that night what she told me that day, and he was livid. He called her to yell at her, and I told him afterward that there's no point. Because that's just gonna fuel her ego. So he agreed and we went to bed. My entire pregnancy was awful. I barely kept anything down and almost fainted twice within 8 months. But the day arrived where I had to give birth, and it came out stillborn. We were devastated. Suddenly Heather said out loud the words I still dread to this day. "Aw, that *CKs. But you could always babysit my little angels. They love their aunt so much. And besides, you could always have another baby." The thing about her kids were that they were nice when they wanted something, but when we told them no, they would lose their minds. Anything they would do, they got away with. If me or Jake punished them while they were under our care, Heather would lose her cool and threaten to call the police on us for child abuse. Which never happened, but she did have us fooled the first 2 times she threatened to do so. What Heather said about my lost baby set Susan off. She pulled Heather aside and verbally ripped her a new one. I sat there on the bed bawling my eyes out. How could anyone say that when they just lost their baby? It was insane. I had lost so much respect for Heather. I had a kind heart, but I was not gonna be kind to her anymore. Some time went by, and after a couple more tries and one more baby lost, I almost lost all hope until our last child was born. Girl, Heather was pissed that my first living child was a girl, but knew she couldn't do anything because she had already damaged her reputation as the golden child. The karma, Heather got pregnant again with her fourth child, which I supported, wished all the best for her and got her gifts, only to find out she threw them all away later on. But 7 months into her pregnancy, she had lost her baby. No one was with her in the delivery room except for Brad and her oldest kid. I felt kinda bad for her because I know how it feels to lose a child, but it became hard to because of all those years of her torment toward me and Jake. I ended up having another child after a couple years, which was another girl. And Jake and I are living happily without Heather ever contacting us ever since she lost her baby. This should be a lesson to everyone that karma is a *tch, and you should treat people the way you want to be treated, because if you wish something bad on someone, it may backfire on you too. EM ruins a wall in a house I'm working on and tries to blame it on me. EM should be obvious, but entitled mom, GL, group leader. Context: there's this event in my church called Work Camp, and every year a bunch of churches full of teenagers go to a location and help the people living there renovate their house. It's pretty much just free child labor, but it's for God or something, so it's okay. This year was my first and last, and I was honestly quite excited and am disappointed with how it went. Story. So when I got to work camp, the house job I was given was an easy paint job. The EM was surprisingly nice, like most at first from what I've seen, and welcomed me and my group, around 4 kids consisting of 12 to 13-year-olds and 1 adult leader, to the home we'd be working on. We learned what we needed to do was a simple paint job and started getting materials immediately. The next couple of days, Monday through Wednesday, we worked on her house with no problems as her kids were somewhere else. And Thursday, her kids came back to the house and were crazy. If I'm to be completely honest though, the kids were probably the most calm on this day. My group tried to get everything done, but it was hell with all these kids running around. In about 5 hours, 1 to 2 hours above when we were supposed to be done, we finally finished. We told the EM to not touch the walls as they were drying and to tell her kids to not do it as well. She said that wouldn't be a problem and ended up telling us that her kids would be somewhere tomorrow, so nothing bad should happen. The next day started normal. I woke up and went to the house I was working at. I assumed what would happen is that we'd finish things up and be done for the day, and I can finally go home. What ended up happening was the complete opposite. GL, hi EM, how are you Tota Dash? My F*** king walls are ruined. GL, obviously confused, I'm sorry, what? My walls are ruined. GL, I'm sorry, could you please explain what you mean by that? EM, a little calmer, but still pretty crazy. Someone in your group touched my F*** king walls, and there's fingerprints and handprints all over them. Our group went in to investigate the issue and saw that all were true. The thing was that all of this had to have happened yesterday after we left, as everything was perfect prior, and we were wearing those plastic gloves when we were at her house to avoid this issue. GL, Ian, take your group outside and wait there, I have to resolve this issue. Me, okay? I was quite confused at what was happening in the moment, but still decided to go ahead anyways and do what my group leader said to do. Anyways, outside my friends and I just talked for around a half hour and then got the news. GL, okay, so apparently one of you supposedly touched the walls and EM is demanding to know who. We all just kind of didn't say anything as no one's did anything, and our GL knew as well what was happening. GL, well then, I guess if no one comes clean the EM won't let us finish her house, and we got to leave then. What? I demand that they come back and clean this house up. Starts sobbing for like no reason. After like a minute of silence, okay, I'm sorry, I overreacted, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry, please help, I'm sorry. GL, I'm sorry, but later today some of the other GLs will come and clean the house for you. What? I'm not letting a stranger into my home. We were quite confused as we were pretty much strangers, but it's an so I DK what to say about this. GL, annoyed, this is what's going to happen, I'm sorry, but there's nothing we can do about it. We just left after that as she kept yelling and got Dairy Queen. We then learned she or her kids touched the walls and tried to blame it on us. Worst part is that I was 12 to 13 at this time. Imagine going off on a bunch of 12-year-olds, excluding our group leader, who just painted your house for free. This was my final experience there, and I just gave up with work camp as a whole.